I now recognize myself for 5 minutes for an opening statement. Good morning. Welcome to today's Energy Subcommittee hearing. Today we will examine the status of U.S. research in low-dose radiation and explore the effects of the previous administration's agency-wide reduction in funding for this area of science. Last Congress, the Science Committee explored the Department of Energy's decision to terminate the low-dose radiation research program, which, until its closure in 2016, was one of the largest and most effective programs in the world. In the course of staff briefings on this decision, a DOE employee was fired for speaking out in support of the low-dose radiation research program. While this employee was eventually reinstated as a result of committee oversight, the department has yet to restart this important area of research. The DOE's program explored the health impacts of low levels of radiation, allowing our nation's researchers, industry, and military to safely handle nuclear material, maintain the nation's nuclear weapons program, and dispose of nuclear waste. Low-dose radiation research can also inform the authorities who set nuclear safety standards for the public, enabling federal emergency response agencies to more accurately set evacuation zones from radiological incidents. This research is also particularly important to practicing physicians who rely on knowledge about the impact of low doses of radiation to decide when and how to use diagnostics to detect cancer in patients. This use-inspired basic research leads to scientific discoveries and long-term benefits for the energy industry as well as our national defense. Today's hearing is yet another opportunity to evaluate whether we as a nation are doing everything we can to ensure that the regulations, guidelines, and protections we put in place are indeed grounded in sound science. We know a lot about the relationship between adverse health effects and high doses of radiation. At high doses, the dosage and the risk are proportionally related, but the health risks associated with exposure to low doses of radiation are much more difficult to observe, and we are a long way away from understanding and accurately assessing this particular risk. In the absence of conclusive evidence, scientists use what's called the linear no-threshold, LNT, model to approximate the effects of low doses of radiation on the human body. This model takes what we know about high doses and applies it to low doses. Current federal dose limits and guidelines are based on that LNT model. Because this model is simply an assumption of the impact, not a validated mechanism for assigning risk, there is no definitive science to justify how many of our nation's nuclear safety procedures or to set guidelines for medical treatments. In order to best serve our nation's energy, medical, and defense needs, we need foundational research in the radiology and biology to directly define the impact of low doses of radiation. Here on the Science Committee, we hear a lot of enthusiasm for next-generation technologies, but we cannot forget about the questions we have left unanswered. The United States should not rely on a best approximation when it comes to our nuclear regulatory policies. DOE must reprioritize basic research in low-dose radiation so we know we are using the best available science to set these standards. I want to thank our accomplished panel in advance, our witnesses, for testifying today, and I look forward to a productive discussion about the future of American low-dose radiation research. I now recognize the ranking member of the